Don't scroll. Before you decide that these words are meant for someone else, give yourself one quiet moment, because something has been happening around you that even you may not have fully recognized yet. There has been a silent shift in the way people see you. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not something that can easily be explained with logic. Yet it is real. Somewhere along the journey, without realizing it, you began carrying a different kind of presence. People who have not seen you in a long time look at you a little longer than they expected. Some smile without knowing why. Others seem strangely quiet around you. A few even ask questions that sound simple on the surface but hide genuine curiosity underneath. They wonder what changed. They wonder why you seem familiar and mysterious at the same time. They wonder how someone can carry both softness and strength in a single expression. Listen carefully, because this message may finally give words to something your heart has been sensing for a long time. You have been through seasons that most people never saw. You carried disappointments without announcing them. You faced lonely nights without asking for sympathy. You smiled while quietly rebuilding pieces of yourself that life once tried to break. Those invisible moments became the reason your presence feels different today. It is not your appearance alone that catches attention. It is the peace that slowly replaced the chaos. It is the quiet confidence that grew where fear once lived. It is the calm in your eyes that tells a story no one can read completely but everyone somehow feels. That is why certain people seem surprised when they look at you now. They expected time to make you smaller, weaker, more uncertain. Instead, time refined you. It softened your heart without making you fragile. It strengthened your spirit without making you cold. It taught you patience without stealing your hope. And whether you realize it or not, that transformation has become visible. Some people cannot explain why they keep looking at you. Others cannot explain why your words stay in their minds long after the conversation ends. They simply know that something feels different. Have you noticed how strangers sometimes treat you with unexpected kindness? Have you noticed how certain conversations become deeper than you expected? Have you noticed how people who once overlooked you suddenly remember your name? None of these moments are accidents. They are quiet reminders that your energy has changed. The world often notices inner transformation before we do ourselves. While you were busy surviving, healing, and learning, something beautiful was happening beneath the surface. Your experiences were shaping a version of you that no mirror could fully reveal. Beauty is not only found in perfect features. Real beauty is found in peace after pain. It is found in kindness after disappointment. It is found in hope after heartbreak. And those qualities create a light that people notice even when they cannot explain it. Some will admire it. Some will envy it. Some will misunderstand it. But none of that changes what is true. You have become someone whose presence speaks before words are ever spoken. Think about the moments when someone looked at you as though they were trying to remember where they knew you from. Think about the unexpected compliments that focused on something impossible to describe. They were not simply noticing your face. They were responding to the quiet confidence your soul now carries. Confidence that was earned, not borrowed. Confidence that came from surviving storms no one applauded. Confidence that came from choosing hope when giving up would have been easier. That kind of confidence cannot be purchased. It cannot be copied. It can only be lived. And because it is genuine, people feel it immediately. There is another reason why your presence feels different now. You no longer spend every moment trying to prove your worth. Somewhere along the way, you stopped chasing approval. You stopped explaining yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. You stopped shrinking just to make others comfortable. The moment you began accepting yourself more deeply, something extraordinary happened. Your energy became lighter. Your smile became more natural. Your voice carried greater peace. The world responds differently to someone who has quietly made peace with themselves. That peace is rare. That peace is attractive. That peace is unforgettable. Not because it demands attention but because it creates comfort wherever it goes. People may not remember every word you say, but they remember how they feel after meeting you. They remember feeling understood. They remember feeling calm. They remember feeling that somehow, even without trying, you reminded them that kindness still exists. Never underestimate the power of that gift. In a world where so many people are rushing to be noticed, becoming someone who brings peace is one of the rarest qualities anyone can possess. And perhaps that explains why life has felt different recently. Doors that once stayed closed have begun opening. Conversations appear at exactly the right moment. Opportunities arrive from unexpected directions. New connections seem strangely meaningful. These are not random coincidences. They are often the natural result of becoming aligned with the person you were quietly growing into all along. Your journey was never only about reaching a destination. It was about becoming someone capable of carrying greater blessings with humility, wisdom, and grace. Every disappointment prepared your heart. Every delay strengthened your patience. Every challenge taught you something success never could. And now those invisible lessons are becoming visible through the way you carry yourself. Some people see confidence. Others see beauty. Others see maturity. But what they are truly seeing is the evidence of everything you survived without losing your kindness. That is why your presence feels unforgettable. That is why certain people cannot easily forget meeting you. Because they are not only seeing who you are today. They are feeling the quiet strength created by every chapter you refuse to let define your future. If you have ever wondered whether your difficult seasons meant anything, let this be your reminder that none of them were wasted. Every tear watered the roots of the person you are becoming. Every unanswered question taught you to trust yourself a little more. Every lonely moment introduced you to a deeper relationship with your own heart. Those experiences became invisible treasures, and now the world is beginning to notice their reflection in you. So the next time someone looks at you with quiet surprise, do not assume it is because of your appearance alone. They may be witnessing something far greater. They may be witnessing a spirit that has learned to shine without asking permission. They may be witnessing someone who carries both gentleness and resilience in perfect balance. They may be witnessing a story of transformation that words alone could never fully explain. And perhaps, without realizing it, you are becoming the reminder someone else desperately needed, that healing is possible, that hope can return, and that the most beautiful changes often happen so quietly that we only recognize them after the world begins reflecting them back to us. As the days continue to unfold, you may notice that this quiet transformation is no longer something that only a few people can sense. It is beginning to reach places you never expected. There are conversations happening about you that you will probably never hear. Someone has mentioned your name with genuine admiration. Someone else has wondered how you became so calm after everything you have faced. Another person has secretly compared their own journey to yours, hoping they could discover the same quiet strength they now see in you. This is the fascinating part of real growth. It rarely announces itself. It simply begins changing the atmosphere wherever you go. You may think you are living an ordinary day, yet your presence is leaving an extraordinary impression on someone who crosses your path. Have you ever noticed that certain people seem more comfortable sharing their deepest thoughts with you than with anyone else? They often do not know why. They simply feel safe. They feel understood. They feel that somehow your silence speaks louder than empty words ever could. That is because true strength is never noisy. It does not need to convince anyone. It simply exists, and people naturally respond to it. You have spent so much time wondering whether you were enough that you almost missed the moment life quietly answered your question. You were always enough. You simply needed time to believe it yourself. The confidence you now carry is not built upon perfection. It is built upon acceptance. You stopped waiting for life to become perfect before allowing yourself to smile. You stopped measuring your worth through other people's opinions. Little by little, your heart became lighter, your spirit became freer, and your future became brighter without you even realizing it. That is why there is a certain glow surrounding you now. It is not something expensive. It is not something artificial. It is the natural light that appears when someone finally begins living in harmony with who they truly are. People can sense authenticity even when they cannot explain it. They recognize honesty in your eyes. They recognize compassion in your words. They recognize peace in the way you respond instead of react. These qualities cannot be imitated for long because they are born from experience. They are born from nights when no one knew how hard you were fighting just to keep believing. They are born from mornings when you chose gratitude even though life still felt uncertain. Every one of those unseen moments has become part of the person standing here today. Some people are surprised because they expected your struggles to leave permanent scars on your spirit. Instead, those struggles became the very reason your spirit shines more brightly than before. There is something beautiful about someone who refuses to let pain become bitterness. That decision changes everything. It changes the way you speak. It changes the way you listen. It changes the energy you bring into every room. Without trying, you become a reminder that difficult seasons do not always destroy people. Sometimes they reveal the strongest version of them. Think about how many times you almost gave up. Think about how many moments you believed nothing was changing. Yet every small step forward was quietly building a life that now feels completely different from the one you once feared would never improve. Growth often feels invisible while it is happening. We notice it only when we look back and realize we no longer react the same way, no longer fear the same things, and no longer chase the same approval. That realization is powerful because it proves that healing is not a single moment. It is 1,000 quiet decisions made when no one is watching. Perhaps that is why your story resonates with people without you even telling them every detail. They see resilience where you once saw weakness. They see grace where you once noticed only imperfections. They see hope where you once questioned whether hope still existed. Never underestimate what your presence communicates before you ever speak a single word. Your attitude has become a language of its own. Your patience has become a lesson for someone who is struggling. Your kindness has become proof that the world still contains genuine hearts. Even your smile carries a deeper meaning now because it is no longer based only on circumstances. It is rooted in something stronger. It is rooted in the understanding that peace is created from within, not borrowed from the outside world. This is why your journey matters more than you realize. You are becoming living evidence that transformation is possible. Not instant transformation. Not effortless transformation. Real transformation that is earned through courage, faith, persistence, and quiet determination. Every challenge you overcame added another layer to your character. Every disappointment taught you wisdom. Every delay developed patience. Every closed door redirected you towards something that fits your life more perfectly than what you originally imagined. Looking back, you may even realize that some of the things you once begged life to give you would have prevented you from becoming the person you are today. Sometimes unanswered prayers are not rejection. They are protection. Sometimes delays are not punishment. They are preparation. Sometimes endings are not losses. They are invitations to discover a future that could never begin while you remained attached to the past. That understanding creates freedom. Once your heart embraces that truth, fear slowly loses its power over you. You begin trusting the timing of your life instead of constantly fighting against it. And that trust changes your entire presence. It allows you to walk through uncertainty without losing your peace. It allows you to face challenges without losing your hope. It allows you to meet new opportunities without being trapped by old doubts. There will always be people who misunderstand your quiet confidence. Some may mistake it for distance. Others may mistake it for pride. But those who truly see you will recognize the difference immediately. They will recognize that your confidence is gentle, your strength is compassionate, and your heart remains open despite everything it has survived. Those are rare qualities. Protect them. Do not allow temporary disappointments to convince you to close the heart that has worked so hard to heal. Continue choosing kindness even when the world seems impatient. Continue choosing honesty even when shortcuts appear easier. Continue believing in your own growth even on days when progress feels invisible. Because every choice you make today is quietly shaping the version of yourself that people will admire tomorrow. One day you will meet someone who sees all of this without needing an explanation. They will not be impressed only by your appearance. They will be drawn toward your peace, your wisdom, your sincerity, and the quiet confidence that shines through every conversation. They will understand that your greatest beauty was never something the mirror could fully capture. It was always the light created by a heart that refused to stop believing after every difficult chapter. Until that day arrives, continue becoming the person your younger self desperately needed to meet. Continue growing with patience. Continue walking with humility. Continue trusting that every experience has prepared you for something meaningful. Because the most extraordinary chapters of life rarely begin with loud announcements. They begin with quiet changes inside an ordinary person who finally realizes that they have been extraordinary all along. And perhaps that is the greatest surprise of all, not that other people have started noticing you, but that one day you will look into your own reflection and finally recognize the incredible person you have been becoming this entire time. There will come a moment, perhaps sooner than you expect, when you realize that the greatest surprise was never the way other people began looking at you. The greatest surprise will be the way you begin looking at yourself. For so long, you searched for evidence that you were growing. You searched for signs that your efforts mattered. You searched for proof that all those silent battles were leading somewhere meaningful. But growth has a remarkable way of hiding itself until the exact moment you are ready to recognize it. Then suddenly, almost without warning, you notice that your heart reacts differently. Situations that once stole your peace no longer control your emotions. Opinions that once kept you awake at night lose their power. The need to explain yourself begins to disappear because deep inside you finally understand that not everyone is meant to understand your journey. That realization changes everything. It allows you to breathe more freely. It allows you to laugh more genuinely. It allows you to live without constantly wondering whether you are enough. Because somewhere along the way, your soul quietly accepted a truth it had been resisting for years. You were never becoming worthy. You were simply discovering the worth that had always been within you. Think about how many chapters of your life were filled with uncertainty. There were days when you questioned every decision. There were nights when silence felt heavier than words. There were mornings when getting out of bed required more courage than anyone around you could ever imagine. Yet here you are. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you became stronger than the circumstances that once frightened you. Strength does not always arrive with dramatic victories. Sometimes it appears through quiet consistency. It appears every time you choose hope over despair. Every time you choose forgiveness over resentment. Every time you choose to keep moving even when progress feels painfully slow. Those moments may seem ordinary while they are happening, but together they create an extraordinary life. That is why your presence feels different now. It carries the quiet confidence of someone who has walked through storms and discovered that peace is possible even while the rain is still falling. People notice that without realizing why. They notice the calm in your voice. They notice the patience in your responses. They notice that you no longer seem desperate for attention because your value is no longer dependent upon being noticed. Ironically, that is exactly what makes people notice you even more. Authentic confidence has a magnetic quality that cannot be manufactured. It never asks to be admired, yet admiration naturally follows it. There are individuals who will remember meeting you years from now, even if your conversation lasted only a few minutes. They may forget the exact words you spoke, but they will never forget how your presence made them feel. They will remember feeling seen. They will remember feeling understood. They will remember leaving with a little more hope than they had before they met you. Never underestimate that kind of influence. The world is filled with people who are silently carrying burdens they never talk about. A single kind word, a patient smile, or a compassionate heart can become the beginning of someone else's healing. Perhaps you have already done this for people without even realizing it. Perhaps someone still remembers your encouragement on the very day you had forgotten you even offered it. Kindness has a way of traveling farther than we ever expect. It leaves echoes in places we may never visit again. And because you have learned kindness through experience instead of convenience, it carries unusual depth. You understand what loneliness feels like, so you become more welcoming. You understand disappointment, so you become more encouraging. You understand heartbreak, so you become more gentle with fragile hearts. These qualities are shaping a legacy far greater than appearances ever could. Beauty changes with time, but character grows more radiant every year it is nurtured. That is why certain people are quietly amazed when they meet you now. They expected time to diminish your light, yet somehow it has only made it brighter. The wisdom in your eyes was not purchased. It was earned. The peace in your spirit was not accidental. It was cultivated through countless choices to keep believing when giving up seemed easier. Every challenge became a teacher. Every delay became preparation. Every unexpected turn redirected you toward a version of yourself that could never have existed without those experiences. Looking back, you may finally understand why certain doors remained closed. At the time they felt like rejection, but today they resemble protection. You may understand why certain people walked away. At the time it felt like abandonment, but now it looks like space being created for healthier relationships. You may understand why your plans changed so many times. At the time it felt frustrating, but now it appears that life was gently guiding you toward something much more meaningful than you originally imagined. Perspective has the power to transform painful memories into valuable lessons. The events themselves may never change, but the meaning you give them certainly can. Once that happens, the weight you carried for years begins to lift. Regret slowly loses its grip. Fear gradually releases its hold. Gratitude quietly takes their place. Imagine how different life becomes when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What has this experience prepared me to become?" That single shift opens doors inside your heart that criticism and worry could never unlock. Suddenly every setback becomes a lesson instead of a life sentence. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to grow stronger. Every ending becomes the beginning of a chapter you could not yet see. That is the hidden miracle of transformation. It rarely changes the past. Instead, it changes the person who remembers the past. And once you change, your future changes with you. The opportunities you notice become different. The people you attract become different. The standards you accept become different. You stop settling for environments that drain your peace because you finally understand how valuable your peace truly is. You stop apologizing for protecting your energy because you recognize that a healthy heart is one of life's greatest treasures. There will always be voices trying to convince you that you should become someone else to fit in. Resist that temptation. The qualities that make you unique are the very qualities that will inspire the right people. Your compassion is not weakness. Your patience is not failure. Your quiet nature is not something that needs to be fixed. These are strengths that the world often overlooks until it desperately needs them. Continue becoming more yourself instead of becoming what others expect. Continue choosing authenticity over approval. Continue allowing your heart to remain open without allowing it to become unprotected. There is incredible wisdom in learning that kindness and boundaries can exist together. One does not cancel the other. They strengthen each other. As you continue this journey, remember that the most meaningful transformations are never finished. Every season teaches something new. Every challenge reveals another layer of strength. Every joyful moment reminds you why perseverance was worth it. So if today feels ordinary, do not underestimate it. Extraordinary futures are built inside ordinary days. Every decision to remain hopeful, every choice to stay kind, every moment you refuse to let bitterness define you is quietly writing the next chapter of your story. And one day, when someone asks what changed about you, you may simply smile. Because no single moment changed you. It was the collection of countless unseen moments, silent victories, private prayers, difficult lessons, patient waiting, and unwavering hope that slowly shaped the person standing before them. That is the kind of transformation that cannot be taken away, because it was never dependent on the outside world. It was built from within, and the light that grows from within has a remarkable way of shining through every smile, every conversation, every decision, and every step you take from this moment forward. And perhaps the most remarkable part of this journey is that you still do not fully see yourself the way the world has begun to see you. You still remember every mistake, every setback, every moment of doubt. You remember the days when confidence felt impossible and the nights when your heart quietly wondered if anything would ever change. Those memories are still with you, which is why you sometimes underestimate the person you have become. But other people do not meet the version of you who lived through those hidden battles. They meet the person who survived them. They meet someone whose smile carries sincerity instead of pretense, whose words carry thoughtfulness instead of noise, and whose presence offers comfort in a world that often feels restless. That is why your energy feels unforgettable. It is not because you are trying to stand out. It is because you have stopped trying to be anyone other than yourself. There is a peaceful confidence that only comes from accepting who you are, and once that confidence begins to grow, it quietly changes everything around you. Opportunities begin to appear where obstacles once stood. Conversations become more meaningful. Relationships become more genuine. Even the way you experience ordinary moments begins to shift because your attention is no longer trapped by constant self-doubt. You begin noticing beauty in simple things. You begin appreciating quiet mornings, honest conversations, unexpected laughter, and the gentle reminders that life is still unfolding exactly as it should. That appreciation creates gratitude, and gratitude has an extraordinary way of multiplying the joy already present in your life. It does not mean every day becomes perfect. It means every day becomes meaningful. There is a difference. Perfection is fragile because it depends on circumstances. Meaning is lasting because it depends on perspective. You have learned to find purpose even in waiting. You have learned to discover lessons even inside disappointment. You have learned that not every unanswered question requires an immediate answer. Sometimes life asks us to trust before it asks us to understand. That trust has slowly become one of your greatest strengths. People notice it without realizing why. They notice that you remain calm while others panic. They notice that you listen before speaking. They notice that your confidence is gentle rather than loud. In a world that often celebrates constant attention, quiet confidence has become incredibly rare. That rarity is part of what draws people toward you. They feel something authentic in your presence. They sense that you are not competing with anyone. You are simply becoming the best version of yourself, one day at a time. And that journey inspires others more than you know. There are people who have watched your growth silently. They may never tell you directly, but your consistency has encouraged them to believe in their own future. Your resilience has reminded them that difficult chapters do not have to become permanent destinations. Every time you chose hope over fear, you unknowingly became an example for someone else who was searching for a reason to keep going. Never think your story matters only to you. Every life touches countless others in ways that cannot always be measured. A single decision to remain kind can change someone's entire day. A single moment of patience can restore another person's faith in humanity. A single conversation filled with compassion can become the turning point another heart desperately needed. These moments often seem small while they are happening, yet years later they become unforgettable memories. That is the quiet influence of a heart that has learned to lead with love instead of pride. Love does not always announce itself. Sometimes it appears through understanding. Sometimes it appears through forgiveness. Sometimes it appears simply by being present when someone feels alone. Those qualities have become part of who you are because life has taught you the value of them through experience. You know what it feels like to wish someone would understand you without judgment. You know what it feels like to hope that tomorrow will be kinder than yesterday. Those experiences have made your heart softer without making it weaker. They have made you wiser without making you distant. They have made you stronger without taking away your compassion. That balance is rare, and people recognize it even when they cannot explain it. There will always be individuals who misunderstand your quiet nature. Some will mistake your peace for weakness because they have never experienced strength that does not need to shout. Let them misunderstand if they choose. Your responsibility is not to convince everyone of your value. Your responsibility is to continue living with integrity, kindness, and quiet courage. The right people will recognize those qualities without needing an explanation. They will appreciate the honesty in your words, the steadiness in your character, and the warmth in your presence. Those are the relationships worth protecting because they are built upon authenticity rather than appearances. As you continue forward, remember that life is not asking you to become perfect. It is asking you to become real. Real enough to admit when you are still learning. Real enough to celebrate progress instead of chasing impossible standards. Real enough to forgive yourself for the chapters where you simply did the best you could with the understanding you had at the time. Self-forgiveness is one of the greatest gifts you can offer yourself because it frees your heart from carrying unnecessary burdens into a future that deserves your full attention. The past may explain you, but it does not have to define you. Every sunrise offers another opportunity to choose differently, to think differently, to love differently, and to believe differently. That possibility is always waiting, no matter how difficult yesterday may have been. So when you notice people looking at you with quiet admiration, do not assume they are seeing only your appearance. They may be witnessing something much deeper. They may be seeing a person who has learned to transform pain into wisdom, fear into courage, and uncertainty into quiet faith. They may be seeing someone whose greatest beauty comes from the light that hardship could never extinguish. And perhaps, without realizing it, you have become the kind of person your younger self once dreamed of meeting, someone who proves that healing is possible, that hope can survive even the darkest seasons, and that the most extraordinary transformations are often the ones that happen so gradually, so quietly, and so faithfully that by the time the world begins to notice, the miracle has already been growing within you for a very long time. And now, as you reach this moment, perhaps the greatest truth is not that other people have been surprised by you, but that life has been quietly preparing you for a future you could never have imagined during your hardest days. Every chapter that once felt confusing now begins to fit together like pieces of a picture that was always being painted, even when you could not see the whole canvas. The disappointments that once made you question everything slowly became the foundation of your wisdom. The lonely moments that once felt endless became the place where your heart discovered its deepest strength. The setbacks that once seemed unfair became the very experiences that taught you compassion, patience, humility, and courage. Looking back now, you may finally understand that nothing was truly wasted. Every tear carried a lesson. Every delay carried a purpose. Every closed door quietly redirected you toward another path that was waiting with greater peace than you could have imagined. Perhaps that is why your presence feels so different today. It is not because your life has been perfect. It is because your spirit refused to stop growing, even when everything around you seemed uncertain. That quiet decision changed you more than you realize. It changed the way you love. It changed the way you forgive. It changed the way you see yourself. And when the way you see yourself changes, the way the world responds to you begins changing as well. People often believe confidence comes from success, but real confidence comes from surviving moments that should have broken you and discovering that your heart still chooses kindness anyway. That is the kind of confidence you now carry. It does not need applause because it was built in silence. It does not need approval because it was strengthened through experience. It does not disappear when life becomes difficult because difficulty is where it was born. Never forget that. There will still be days when uncertainty returns. There will still be moments when fear whispers old stories into your mind. But now you know something you did not know before. You know that fear is not always telling the truth. You know that difficult seasons do not last forever. You know that your heart has already overcome challenges you once believed were impossible. That memory will become one of your greatest sources of strength. Every future obstacle will remind you of every previous victory. Every new beginning will remind you that endings are rarely the end of the story. They are often the beginning of chapters we could never have written for ourselves. Continue protecting your peace because it has become one of your greatest treasures. Continue speaking with kindness because gentle words often heal wounds that loud voices only deepen. Continue believing in your own growth even when progress feels invisible, because the most meaningful transformations always happen beneath the surface long before anyone else notices them. Never measure your value by temporary opinions. Opinions change with circumstances, but character remains. Continue choosing honesty even when shortcuts appear attractive. Continue choosing patience when impatience seems easier. Continue choosing compassion in a world that often rewards indifference. Those choices may not always receive immediate recognition, but they are quietly shaping a life that will leave a lasting impact far beyond anything you can currently imagine. One day you will meet people who appreciate your heart without asking you to become someone else. You will discover places where you feel completely accepted without pretending. You will experience moments that make every difficult season suddenly make sense. And when those moments arrive, you will smile because you will finally understand why life asked you to keep going when you felt like giving up. You will understand why certain opportunities never worked out. You will understand why some relationships ended. You will understand why patience became one of your greatest teachers. Everything was preparing you, not punishing you. Everything was strengthening you, not abandoning you. Everything was shaping a version of yourself capable of carrying greater joy without losing humility, greater success without losing kindness, and greater peace without forgetting where you came from. That is true growth. It is not measured by what you own. It is measured by who you become. As you continue forward, never lose the qualities that brought you here. Stay curious. Stay grateful. Stay humble. Stay willing to learn. Stay willing to forgive. Stay willing to hope, even when hope feels difficult. The world has enough people who have become hard because of pain. Become someone who became wise because of pain instead. There is a profound difference between the two. Wisdom creates light. Bitterness creates darkness. Every day you choose wisdom, your light grows stronger. And that light will quietly reach people you may never even meet. Someone will find courage because of your example. Someone will believe in themselves because of your encouragement. Someone will choose hope because your story reminded them that healing is possible. That is the legacy worth leaving. Not a legacy built upon recognition, but one built upon genuine kindness, quiet resilience, and unwavering integrity. So if today you still wonder whether your journey has meaning, let this be your reminder that it always has. Every step mattered. Every lesson mattered. Every season mattered. The person you are becoming is living proof that growth often happens slowly, silently, and beautifully. And perhaps years from now, when you look back at this very season of your life, you will realize it was never about becoming someone completely different. It was about uncovering the person you were always meant to be. The strength was already within you. The kindness was already within you. The courage was already within you. Life simply revealed them one chapter at a time. So walk forward with confidence, not because you know exactly what tomorrow holds, but because you now know who you are becoming. Let your heart remain open. Let your spirit remain peaceful. Let your hope remain stronger than your fear. And whenever you begin doubting yourself again, remember this simple truth: the most extraordinary people are rarely the ones who never faced darkness. They are the ones who walked through darkness without allowing it to steal their light. That light is still within you. It has always been within you. And as long as you continue nurturing it with faith, kindness, gratitude, and courage, no challenge, no setback, and no passing season will ever be powerful enough to extinguish what life has so carefully and beautifully helped you become. This is not the end of your story. It is only the beginning of a future that is brighter, wiser, calmer, and more meaningful than anything your past could have predicted. Walk into it with confidence, because the best chapters of your life are not behind you, they are still waiting to be written.